If you are a real estate agent and you are tired of cold calling, door knocking, paying for ads that flat out don't work, or just tired of not knowing how to generate leads, then this is the channel for you. We are four rockstar agents who have come together to help fellow agents achieve financial freedom as well as location and time freedom. My name is Andy Hollis, along with my partners Aileen Fountain, David Doran, and Tim Hollenden. Together, we have over 50 plus years experience and knowledge in the real estate and sales and training industry, and we are hoping to pass that knowledge on to you. So let's get started.
I've spent about my last 12 years on a mission to become free. And when I saw the name of this group, I thought, did they take my stuff and put it on here as their team? Is that what happened? And then I started researching more and I'm like, oh no, that's just their name. So here's what I want to tell you. Everything I'm going to say today is about freedom. And I'm going to talk to you about what I've done and where things have gone. But please translate everything I say into your life. At the end of the day, you don't care about me. I'm just a person in this world that's going to pour into you today, and then you need to take it for you. Okay, but I don't know how else to help you other than if I can tell you where I've been, what I've done, so you can translate to say, okay, well, that's what I want to do. Okay, why did he pivot here? Okay, help me understand that, Austin. What was your vision and how did you pivot? Why did you pivot? Where did you fall short? And because if I don't tell you these things and I just talk, you don't know who I am, what I've done, and you won't be able to truly take that in and use me as a piece of your puzzle to help you get to what I want to say is freedom, right? So just know, as I show you what I've done, as I talk about essentially my last 20 years here, it's not about me, it's about you. And I need you to find the pieces in which you can translate into your life. I don't care if you're 20 years old or 70 years old. I don't care if today's day one or if I think my oldest real estate agent I ever trained, when I started training him, he said, I've been licensed longer than you've been alive. And I thought, oh crap, this is gonna be interesting. And he's paying me to train him. I'm like, is this gonna be good? And he goes, I'm ready to listen. And I thought, okay, I got somebody here. So I don't care where you're at, what you've done, or what your story is. Everything I'm going to tell you today can be translated to you. If you do that, the next 53 minutes of our time together and your investment here will be best used. I don't care if you have $50 million or if you have $5. It doesn't matter. I'm here for you and your impact, so I play all in. So if I get passionate, if I say something that you're like, did he just say that? Yes, I did. I did, because I need to impact you in the way that will help you change what you're doing today to get to where you need to get to, because it's about freedom. Okay. When I say freedom, let me start with this. I'm 40 years old. I've been married 17 years, with my wife for 22. I always say she found me. I had my first house in high school. Literally, I bought a house when I was in high school. Very different experience. And she came to my house for a party, because why not have a party when you're in high school, right? And I remember first thing she said to me, she goes, is this your house? I said, yes, it is. And she ain't ever left. She's been with me for a lot of years now. Now she owns a lot of houses. That was a pretty good move on her end. But what I want to tell you here is, since I was 6, yeah, I'm 40 years old, married 17 years. I got 2 kids, 14 and 12. Since I was 6, my dad's been a real estate agent. So that calculates to 85% of my life. And think of anything you've done 85% of your life. If it's in business of any kind, you would be an expert. I have to go back and reflect to say, Austin, what makes you capable to speak to other people like you know what you're talking about? Right? We all have that feeling no matter what. And I've learned that I can lead if I'm just an inch in front of someone. But 85% of my life has been surrounded by real estate agents. So when I say freedom, let me give you a warning. 98% of you will never get there. I hate to say that, but I've spent my whole life watching. And now I try to make that 98%, 96, and then 94. And if I can gain an inch and grab one of you and help you get there, man, life's good. But the problem is, this business doesn't teach us that. This business doesn't teach us how to handle all this incoming stress and take it all and take all this opportunity and align it with our vision. And normally what we get is, hey, here's the new deal over here. Here's the way to write the contracts today. Here's the new for sale by owner. I'm not saying you don't need that in your life, but remember, everything should be around your vision and where you're going. And that's very hard work. It's hard to learn. It's hard to find people that can teach you that. And it's hard to get all of your things in your life in alignment to where you're trying to go. But I can promise you, when you do that, life is great. Okay, so let me take you back. I'm 6 years old. I'm watching real estate agents. By the time I'm 12, my dad's the manager of the largest Coldwell Banker office in the nation. Largest Coldwell Banker office in the nation, which means I am watching the top real estate agents in the country perform. Okay, pretty cool, right? Well, let me tell you what I saw. I saw a lot of people make a lot of money, live horrible lives, and not have any left over. I'll sum up a decade of watching. A lot of people made a lot of money. Their husbands, their wives left them. Their kids hated them. Their health was horrible. Okay? And they were broke after 10 to 20 years of doing this. I hate to say it. That's the reality. That is my research. So I don't want to be that. I saw that. I don't want to be that. I don't want you guys to be that either. That's why I come in today and I train. And so by the time I was 16, I became my dad's assistant, which is a very interesting thing. Being my dad was a really good real estate agent, still is. He still sits about 6 feet away from me every day. I get to watch him. And at 16, he got to taught me. My dad taught me one thing. A lot of people think that my dad gave me, all this golden leads and everything. He taught me one thing really well, and that's how to treat people. My dad's everybody that knows my dad loves my dad. No one said anything bad about him. And all the times I've ever talked to anybody, no one said anything bad. Everybody loves my dad. And he taught me how to treat people, how to do business the right way. Now, he was successful in transactions, but is he still working at 65 selling real estate? Yep. You know why? Because no one ever taught him how to get out of the business. I beat him out. I'm going to show you how I did that here. I'm going to share my screen and give you, so at 20 years old, I got my license. It's pretty cool. Document your journey, everybody, because one day you're going to tell someone your journey. And if you don't have your pictures and you don't understand what you did, you're not going to be able to help anybody out. So at 20 years old, I got licensed. Now, unfortunately, at 20 for me, my mother had passed in a tragic airplane accident when I was 17. And I spent about the next decade spiraling down in a very negative tailspin, let's call it. And high school for me, I missed 78 days of school my senior year. And the reason I would say I missed 78 days of school my senior year, because I have my own house. Like, if you literally had your own house, would you go to school? I didn't. And I actually ran into one of my teachers not too long ago. I said, hey, how did you graduate me? Because today, if my daughter misses 6 days, you call CPS on me, and she's in Disney, And he said, Austin, we just all took a vote and decided it was time for you to move on. And so I moved on to college. I'm the only one I know that had a full ride scholarship to college for sports, and I didn't take it. I elected to pay for college. I believe that was still the right decision, but I tell you that to understand my mindset as I'm working through this. There's things that just, when I had a vision and I knew what I wanted to do, even though I didn't know what I was doing, there was an alignment with my actions. And so I was very good at baseball. I decided to once again bypass the scholarship, stop playing baseball, and just went to school. Well, college took me 5.5 years to get a 2-year degree. And it wasn't because I wasn't smart. It was because I had my own house and I was in a tailspin, which is exactly where you might be right now. You might be in a tailspin or a very long period of drift that someone needs to shake the hell out of you and get you out of it. And that's this reality. That might be where you're at right now. That's okay. What is your reality today? Because for me, I'm 20 years old. I'm licensed. I have no clue what I'm doing, and I'm in college. The one good thing I have is I have my own house. And then once I said this lady came across my life at 18. I always love, look at my shirt there. If that didn't tell you what I was up to those days, I don't wear beer drinking shirts anymore. But back in the day, that was my whole wardrobe. I didn't know any better. That's just who I was. I wasn't yet the man that I needed to be, but here's what I can tell you. I had the things inside of me, okay? I had the things inside of me that I needed to figure out, how do I get these out of me so I can get on this journey, okay? What I call the wealthy life. And so there's my beautiful bride still with me today. She might come in here and start yelling at me here shortly. If you hear that, you just if you're married, you know what I'm talking about. She does not care that I'm with you guys right now. When she comes home, it's mama's time. Better than that, a couple years later, we had our first child at 26 years old. So my daughter is just like me. She is a pain in my butt most mornings. And I love it on this picture just shows her face, which is like, did I tell you to take a picture of me? You know, that's kind of what she would say. But life wasn't so bad when I had my first kid. Okay? It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad until the second one. And here's what I'll tell you. I'm 28 years old here. I'm 8 years licensed. And if you're brand new in this business, I want you to grab onto this. This might be one of the most important things I tell you the whole day. Real estate allowed me to sit for 8 years before it put me on welfare. I was 20 years old. I wasn't on welfare. I became on welfare when I was 28 on my second child. So this industry let me sit and rot for 8 years, which means no one's going to pick you up. You have to pick yourself up. You have to show up here if you want to be better. No one's going to come to your house, set your cameras up, and get this moving for you. You have to pick yourself up. And unfortunately for me, I didn't pick myself up over those 8 years. I told you I was in a drift. Even though I was married, I was had my second child, I was still mentally in my drift. I have not become the person I needed to be. Please remember, I had all the things inside of me when I got my vision, when I understood what I wanted, all the things were inside of me to go do. No differently than you right now. The things are inside of you. And on this day, I remember this day so clearly. I looked at my wife and I said, we qualify for welfare. And she was like, how'd that happen? I'm like, it's a math problem that's not working out in our favor. That's all I can tell you. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And on that day, I made a promise. I told my wife, I said, I'll figure this out. I'll get us out of here. I know when I put my head down and I work that I can get some good stuff done. I'm actually almost fearful of the work that I can do when I put my head down. And so I made my wife this promise on this day. I recommend this to any of you too. I said, honey, I will be home every night at 5 o'clock for dinner. This is 12 years ago. I will be home every night at 5 o'clock for dinner because my whole life, my father, I never knew when to expect him. He was always late. He was always showing houses. He was trying to do what he needed to do. But I had lived that life and I didn't want my kids and my wife to live that life. If I was going to go march on to the summit, I knew the repercussions that would come. So I created what's called boundaries. 5 o'clock home every night for dinner. No appointments Friday after 5. So Friday evening, no appointments. Why? Because who the heck wants to work on a Friday evening? None of us really do. Come on. And then the third boundary I set up is no appointments on Sundays. Now, some of you guys might think that's crazy to say out loud. I did it. My boss, my manager, everybody who I work for told me, Austin, you can't do this. That's not how this business works. And I said, I got in this business to do whatever I wanted. And it took me down. I believe it can also raise me up. And so I made those commitments 12 years ago. I will say to this day, I still keep every one of those commitments. Okay? 99% of my life over the last 12 years has held true to those. Only time I've ever scheduled an appointment on a Sunday is when I was out of town with my family for a week and we were tired of each other. You know how that is when you drive 12 hours somewhere and then you drive back and we're all like, hey, can we all just disappear? I love all you guys, but I don't need you today. That was my Sunday. I would go work then. That would be it. It would be an exception, not the rule. And I put my head down at my company I was working at. I was number 100 out of 100 out of the real estate agents. So I worked at a local independent. I was number 100 out of 100. No one would have ever bet on me. I put my head down and I made myself a promise and I created what's called a vision. So I'll tell you this, without a vision, people perish. I was perishing because I didn't have a vision. On this day, I created a vision for my life. And I said, when my son graduates high school, I will be free. I told you I love freedom. Made that promise and commitment to myself. When my son graduates, I will be free. What was freedom? Here was my freedom. 3 things. Freedom of location, which means I can be anywhere in the world at any time and do what I need to do. I am not bound by a certain place, geographical location. Next one, freedom of time. I'm not bound by somebody else's clock. I will do what I want when I want. And the last one was freedom of money, which means I no longer have to work to earn income when he graduates. I can work for free the rest of my life. This was 12 years ago, 12 short years ago. I'm going to show you the journey here and how fast it goes when you get in a vision and you can align things. So I went to work. Here's what happened. Within 4 years, I love this picture because I was kicking ass back then. Man, I went from selling no homes to selling. My top year was 2016. I sold 88 homes by referral that year. Never bought an internet lead in my life. Still don't. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. It's just not how I built my business. Built my entire business by referral. In 2016, I sold 88 homes, and everyone was like, what the hell just happened? You catch me? What happened to Austin? 4 years ago, this guy's on welfare, one of the worst agents in our company. And now out of 100 agents, he's number 1. And then some magic happened. I went to my boss and I said, hey, I'm the top agent in this company and I need higher level education. Because I knew my education was what helped me get there. I surrounded myself by mentors who helped show me the way. They showed me what to do. I believe everybody needs 3 things in life. Write this down. If you got something to write with, please write this down. You need a vision. You need a goal. You need something to strive for. If not, there's too many options in life and you won't know which road to take. You got to have something that you're moving towards. I always say my decisions are already made. It's just the action I need to put behind it. Kathy, reach out to me. Hey, Austin, I'd love for you to come in. The decision's already made. I'm here to impact people. Done, Kathy. Good. I didn't ask Kathy 0 questions. Not one. I probably should have, Kathy. I didn't ask you 1 question. I'm here to impact. If it's just me and Kathy, I'm good. Because that decision was already made in the past. I'm here to impact. So when you have a vision and a goal, all the decisions are already made. You don't have decision fatigue. I already know where I'm going. The next thing we need is a system to operate on. So what is your system? What is the system that you're using? For anything, you need a system. The system helps you optimize your process and lower your liability along the way. And then the last thing, which I think is one of the most important things that I found, was a guide. Someone who had been there and who's done it. I need someone to tell me, hey, Austin, here's where you're at. When you come up to the fork in the road in a mile, you need to go left, not right. Right takes you off of a cliff. You'll have to start over. It'll take you 2 more years. Left is a very nice path for you. I need a guide. So I need a vision, I need systems, and I need a guide. And that's what I worked on. So in 2016, my company said, hey, Austin, will you train my 100 agents on whatever you did to get you from welfare to being the top agent in my company? And I have a filter in my life. It's already a decision that's made. It's from Les Brown. If you haven't heard of Les Brown, great speaker. Les Brown says, in life, if you do what is easy, life will be hard. And if you do what is hard, life will become easy. And so I've made the decision to do what's hard my entire life. It sucks initially. It's great long term. So in 2016, my company asked for me to train my competitors, my 100 agents that I worked against, that I competed against, that weren't rooting me on, these people. Let me tell you, they were not rooting me on, most of them. And I asked myself, would it be easy or hard to go from selling 88 homes, working 38 and a half hours a week, because I track my hours every day, to now training 100 agents and trying to sell? And I said, heck yes, that will be hard. So I said, yes, let's go. So in 2017, I started training agents on what I did. Now, I didn't know what I was doing, just like a lot of you right now don't know what you're doing. But I started figuring out little by little. I started looking at, okay, what did I do here? Where did I start and how did that move? And what I realized really quickly was, remember, I had a vision. I needed to be free when my son graduates. This is very, very important. And part of that freedom was getting a passive income. So that way, if my body gets hurt, if my mind gets hurt, if my family needs me for a month or a year, whatever it is, I know I'm good. And I don't have to think about, hey, honey, I want to take care of you, but today I got to go make money. I wanted to set myself up for that because I knew it was a very good, realistic chance that I would need to get there. And I just watched hundreds and hundreds of people never get there. Great. These are great people, great real estate agents, great businesses, fell short. And I said, I got to do that. So let me tell you, when you push the needle to do greater things with what you're doing, you're going to tend to irritate some people and find things that they don't want you to find. And what happened was I found this company called eXp Realty. Where I was at, no one had ever heard of it. Okay? I never heard of it. I happened to be coaching, and I coached at the time one of my friends who was up in Canada. She ended up being the number 1 agent in Canada that year for eXp and number 3 agent overall for the whole company. This was 2019. And I told her, I said, hey, I'm at the top of my company here. I'm trying to grow and I just don't see any way. And she said, you should really look at this company. And I said, well, I don't know anything about it. It'd be hard to move. And I thought, damn, it'd be hard to move. Did you hear that? It'd be hard to move. And so I told her, it was a Saturday night. I remember like it was yesterday. It was Saturday night. It was 8:00 at night. And I was talking to her and I'm like, I got to do something. I got to keep growing. I'm not where my vision is, and I will not be cut short of the man that I want to become and the goals that I want to achieve. I will not let anything or anybody hold me short. I said, I have to try. I have to try. I have to try. And she goes, you need to check out this company called eXp Realty. And I'm like, Madhu, I got just so much stuff going on. And she's like, Austin, you have to. Period. You have to. I know who you are. You're my coach. I know everything about you. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? You want me to go on the website and look at it? She goes, no, I want you to be in Vegas on Monday morning. They're having their conference. I go, it's Saturday night at 8:00. I'm not going to go tell my wife I'm going to go. She'll hate me. And I realized if I was going to pursue my vision, I had no choice. I had to do what was hard to make life easy. So I hopped on a plane the next day, flew out to Vegas, and I saw some amazing things. Here's the biggest thing I saw. I saw the ability to give my talents and gifts to people to earn a residual income. I'll say that again. I saw a platform that instead of training 100 agents at my old company, I could train 15,000 agents, give my talents and abilities, and earn a residual income for something that was already inside of me that I just had to get out. Now, a lot of people laughed at me. They go, well, you're not going to train 15,000 agents, Austin. When I was telling everybody I'm moving and why, they're like, no one even knows who you are. You have what are you doing? I'm like, I have a vision. I have to pursue it. One of the most beautiful things that happened in 2021. In 2021, after taking the same training that I did for these 100 agents, I took it to eXp. And this is how I knew I was on the right track. Is out of 255 instructors in 2021, they named me the instructor of the year for my agent success program, which is one of the coolest freaking things I can tell you in my life that I've ever done. Not necessarily for me, but because I had a vision and I pursued it. I mean, I was up against 15,000 people to start with, 255 instructors. Some of these instructors are some of the national coaches, like some of the top coaches in the nation. And here's little Austin Chevron, who no one knows. And I'm just plugging away, teaching people what I did. Here's why I believe they named me the instructor of the year. It's because the program that I was training on was about life and business. Life and business, and how those two things go together. See, most of us get trained just on business. The problem is, do you know what gets in the way of your business? 98% of the time, your life. Your life 100% gets in the way of your business. Business is easy. It's just a system and a process. I can tell you what to do and you can make 6 figures the rest of your career. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I can tell you what to do. And if you do it, you'll make money. Problem is you have health issues. Okay. 1, you have financial issues. You have mental issues. Your spouse hates you now because you're never home and you're always chasing the dollar. Your kids haven't seen you since 2019. All those things live in our head and they stop our business. Remember, I spent my whole life watching this. Literally, my whole life I watched this. And so I didn't want to be one of those people. So I became something different. After the instructor of the year, I took it on myself to create what's called our Agent Success Program. It was our first program in Chevron University that now documents, instead of just doing it for 100 people, and then instead of doing it for 15,000 people at that time, we documented and recorded everything we did so that way we could share it with the world. Do what is hard, life will become easy. So this is essentially the system on how I grew my life and my business at the same time. And as you look at the 12 modules we go through here, it shows goals, database, habits, lead generation, money, buyers, time management, sellers, calendar planning, communication style, education, and commission. This is exactly the blueprint that I went through as I was building up my company. So it's pretty cool to do what's hard. Because once again, if you do what is hard, life will become easy. So let me keep going here. So I move over to EXP. I start training agents. Next thing you know, my local agents started to be attracted to me because they saw what I was doing. If you want to be more attractive, become a better person. Have a vision. People are attracted to my vision. People that make $5,000 a month and people that make $5 million a month are attracted to my vision because they know where I'm going and they can watch and see how I sort everything out to ensure I get there. Well, that started happening and my team started growing. Okay? Next thing you know, we're running the Chevron group with 25 agents in 3 years, in 3 short years. If anybody here is looking to run a team, let me tell you this, in 3 short years, without buying one lead, we went from no team to a top 10 team at EXP. We went from no team at all to a top 10 team in 3 years with 25 agents without buying one lead. That is unheard of. That doesn't exist. That gets Glenn and Leo all coming to me saying, what the hell are you doing? And you know what I was doing? I was teaching everybody this. My team came here to learn how to live a good life and run a big business. And let me tell you, when you live a good life, you attract people who run big businesses. Because one thing they're not doing necessarily is living a good life because the business took over. You got to understand wherever you're at, okay, as you continue to grow, life gets harder to manage. Go try to run 90 transactions in a year, or as a team, go try to run over 500 transactions in a year with 20 some agents. It's not easy. You have to have a vision on what's important in your life. And so after running a top 10 team 2 years in a row, we decided to record this and document it and call it our teams program. We're training so many people, kept asking us, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? Can I see your books? How do you grow? How do you recruit? How the heck are you guys doing this? You got to remember, the top 10 teams at EXP on average have over 100 agents. And for those of you who don't know, here's some facts for you. On average, the top 10 teams at EXP have about 100 agents. We had 25. On average, the top 10 teams at EXP are spending over $100,000 a month to run their company. We were spending $22,000. They kept saying, how the hell are you guys doing this? And so guess what, Kathy? If you do what is easy, life will be hard. If you do what is hard, life will become easy. Would it be hard or easy to document everything you know and give everybody your playbook again? So guess what? We documented it. I held a conference here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I flew my friends from all over the country. We had 80 of my friends here. We had over $2 billion in sales in the room, and we trained them for 2 days on how we did this. We had my producing crew come in, film everything, document it, so that way we can give this back to the rest of the world. Some of you guys might have heard of this. This is exactly how we build our team. It starts with culture and expectations. I ran this program privately for 2 years before I announced it to the world, just to make sure we had a clue what we were doing. Like, you might know what you're doing, but then try to communicate it to the world. It doesn't always work well. Like, I think I know what I'm doing, and then I go tell someone, and it's like, no, that's not how it came across. So for 2 years, I trained some of the top team leaders in this country. I trained some of the top brokerage owners in this country. I trained some of the top coaches. I trained people as far as Portugal, the United Kingdom, just to take a whole nother country, another continent, and say, hey, does this stuff work where you're at? And here's what I can tell you. We took it down to these 6 things is what we did. I'm giving you guys my gold right here. If you're working on a team, here's what we did and here's how we made it work. And 80% of the work starts with module 1, culture and expectations. 80% of the entire program I found is how do you set the right expectations and recruit to a certain culture. I'm telling you right now, 80% of this entire program lies right there. 80% of every real estate team, brokerage coach I've ever talked to, it starts here. You don't have the right expectations, you don't have the right culture. Period. You get that right, everything else can build. After that, we worked on the systems and operations, all the behind the scenes stuff. And then we teach people how to sell. How do you get agents to produce without buying them leads? And you get them to wake up and turn their own cameras on. How do you do that? How do we get them motivated? After that, how do you coach and train these people? I gave you a hint. We use the Agent Success Program to do it. Module 5 is one of my favorites because no one ever talks about money. Okay, most teams, when you look at a team and you're like, wow, look what they did, they're broke. Their financials are so out of whack, it's unbelievable. It's really easy to spend $100,000 a month running a team. I know these people, I coach them. So then what we did is we opened up all of our books and we show everybody, here's where not only how much money we make, but here's where every dollar went and what we learned along the way. Because no one ever did that for me. And now my job was to document it and give it to everybody else. And then let me give you the last thing here. Look at module 6. This is where most people start, by the way, is they start with recruiting and onboarding to their team. The problem is if you don't know your money, you don't know how you're going to train them, you don't know how they're going to sell, your operations aren't in track, and let alone your culture and expectations aren't in place, you don't need to recruit anybody. You need to get you right and then bring people in. This is how we ran one of the top teams in the country. I believe, this isn't announced by the way, but I believe we had the #1 team production per agent at the company. Okay? They don't announce those stats. The #1 team production per agent, and we didn't even buy leads. There's a phrase that I live by that says compete at a level in which your competition doesn't know exist. We might have been number 6 or number 7, 2022, 2023, but the level in which we were playing was not even similar. And I'm not saying that to brag or anything. I'm telling you that because I have a vision of how we're going to grow, where we're going, and I'm going to pursue the hell out of it. And it just so happened to get magnified with our team. Okay. So things are going good. Let me show you what's coming next. Remember I told you I had that little thing called a vision? Well, part of my vision was to make sure I didn't have to work for money. You know how much I get paid to be here? 0. I can do this for free because I don't have to worry about money. See, when you handle your money, you can work for free the rest of your life if you choose. So as I kept growing, I knew I didn't want to be on welfare anymore, and I knew I needed a residual income coming in. So what I did is I created what's called a money machine that helped me process every dollar I made. And because of that, I was able to take some money out before I spent it all. I'll show you this here in a second. I was able to take it out before I spent it and buy some real estate. Look at that. Wouldn't you guys like to own 45 properties that pay you a residual income every month? And a pretty proud moment for 5 owned these houses for 5 years. I never saw one of them for 5 years. And they were all about 25 minutes away from me. I made sure when I bought my real estate, it wasn't an investment of my time. It was an investment of my money because I already had another job. And last week, for the first time ever, I went through every one of these houses I own. There was an obligation there. I'll tell you about that here in a little bit. But I felt an obligation. And so I went through every one of these houses for the first time ever. And I got to see the people living there. I got to see the condition of the houses. I just knew it as 123 Main Street that pays in $895 for rent for the last 5 years. That's all I knew it as. And that was okay because this is an investment of my money, not my emotions, not my time. As we were building all this, what I will tell you, if you didn't think life was a little different for me than some of you, I'll say this. In March, April, and May this year, I shut down 3 companies to go all in on just the coaching and training. We shut down the Chevron Group, which was one of the top teams in the country I was telling you about. We shut it down. I had offers for people to buy it. I just said, nope, it's got to go out of my life. It served its purpose. It was here. It did very well. I was talking to Leo Prey a couple weeks ago. He goes, dude, why didn't you do that? He goes, it doesn't make any sense. I said, Leo, I can only take so much on in my head. And that path was done. I did it. I record it. Now I can teach other people how to do it. It's about impact to me. So we shut down that team. I shut down my transaction management company, which processed thousands of transactions, and I shut down my insurance company. I just went all in with giving back my impact company, Chevron Coaching, teaching and training other people on how to do what I've done. Not telling people what Chat GPT says or what Google says. Here's exactly what Austin and Nate, that's my cousin there, it's like my brother. This is exactly what we did, and this is how we did it. And so we went all in. Now, how can I go all in? Because I handled my back end. Remember this? Remember these? Because I handled my money, I was able to go all in with my vision. You got something right with right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well are you taking care of your money? You see, I wasn't taking care of my money at 22, 23, 24, 25, 6, 7, or 8. And I know that because I was on welfare at 28. I wasn't taking care of it, but I knew where I wanted to get to, where my vision was going to take me. I had to do something different. It wasn't about making the money. It was about taking care of it. Because these three other people in my life, there's my daughter and my son now, my wife, I wanted to get myself to be able to be free for them. And it wasn't for me. I'm a worker. I'll grind. They're afraid that I work so hard mentally that I'll kill myself sometimes. Because I just think about my vision and I pursue it. With excellence, I pursue it. And it's hard work. But I knew because of these three, I wanted to give them something that I didn't get. I wanted to give them the ability that if dad got hurt, they didn't have to take care of me financially. I had my vision. I had my reason why. And so I went to work. And you might be missing that why right now. You might be missing the vision. You might be missing the systems, or you might be missing the guide. But one of those three things you're probably missing, either the vision, the system, or the guide. You might be missing all three. You got to find it. If you want to get to freedom, you got to fight. That shit's not free. It just it's not given to you. You got to fight to get to your freedom. Part of the fighting is creating the vision of what is the freedom. What does it even mean? I'll tell you, it's elusive. Most people never get it. They die trying. They never get it. Remember, 85% of my life has been surrounded by real estate agents. I can say that. I have the stats. I've been around thousands and thousands of agents. Good people never got to where they're trying to get to. I'll show you how I got to my freedom. I told you about my last two programs, the Agent Success Program and our Teams Program. But there was something missing. As a real estate agent, I went back and I asked myself, I'm like, okay, why aren't the agents getting there? And I go back and I look at all the training, I look at all the things that they're trying to do. And I keep asking myself, why are they not getting there? And I figured this out. We're taught how to make money. We're not taught how to manage it. No harm to you. Like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but you were not taught how to manage your money. It's just not taught in this industry. And because of that, we normally don't have it. So because I took care of myself and my money 4 months ago, I went in this room and I locked myself in this room for 2 months. Imagine a high achiever locking himself in a room for 2 months. I was going freaking crazy. You can actually see I still got some of my stuff on my board still. I just was writing everything I knew down about money. And after 30 days of writing everything I knew about money, I called my business partner and I said, hey, Nate, I think we have a problem. He's like, what's the problem, Austin? I said, our wealth program doesn't have anything to do with making money. Like, what do you mean? I go, I don't think people are going to want to go through it because it doesn't talk about making money. The whole program was about how to care for your money, how to create a vision for it, how to become aware of how do you think about money. Like when you were a child, how was money taught to you in your family? And don't say my dad never taught me, because you watched him. You watched what he did with it. So we all learned about money from someone. And so after 30 days, I call him up and I'm like, hey, I think we got a problem. He's like, I don't think we have a problem, Austin. If that's your journey, just document it. And I thought, I don't know if anybody's going to want to listen to this journey. And what was really interesting is I stopped reading and listening to everything for 3 months. I didn't want to have any influences in my mind. And so the only thing I read was the Bible for 3 months. And let me tell you this, I don't care if you're spiritual or not. Proverbs talks a lot about money. It talks about the wisdom of King Solomon. It was never about how much money you made. Okay, if I go back to the parable of talents, talks about how the money is given to the people who manage it. And the people who don't manage it, it's taken away from and given to the people who do. And I realized because I took care of my money that more was given to me. And money is a management system. It's not how much you make that matters. It's how well do you manage it. And so we created our wealth program. Let me show you what this thing looks like here. So the first 10 modules. Module 1 is goals. Everything I always start with starts with a vision. So I get into goals with people. What is your vision for your financials? I don't care how much you make. I deal with people who make $5,000 a month and they're missing a vision and they're empty. They make a shit ton of money and they're empty. It can happen. I deal with people that make $2,000 a month and they're fulfilled. It's crazy how that works. Money will not solve those problems. So we start with goals. After that, we go to awareness. What did you learn about money as a kid? How do you think about it? Do you think money is the root of all evil? And then we get into what's called the deep work, which is your spending. This is all in the personal fields. I realized this after coaching and training tens of thousands of real estate agents about money, that their personal spending is their black hole. It's where all the money goes and no one knows what's happening with it. It goes in there and it completely disappears. So I go talk about that. I actually show people with my own financials, here's what we do. Here's how we take care of it. After I get into spending, I talk about their financials. I get people together on a debt sheet. Okay, what's all my debt? And I have them listed out. And I show them all the categories. This is exactly what I did, by the way. And then I show them how to create a net worth sheet. If you sold everything and you moved to an island, how much money are you taking with you? After that, I talk about credit score and how to raise it. Then we take one module off and I show everybody how to simplify your financials. Financials are very complex, especially if you don't like money. So we take a time off and we simplify it. After that, I get into categorizing, which is a sub-module of the spending. I help people identify, they take all their spending and I have them put it into 3 categories. This is a great exercise for you, which is one category is my fixed expenses. The next category is fixed, and then it would be lifestyle. And then the last one's extras. And so I want you to separate and say which money is fixed, which one's my lifestyle, and which one's my extras. Module 8, we get into debt reduction. So how do I take your financial debt and start to lowering it? Because I don't believe that if you have debt, you'll ever truly get to your freedom. Module 9, we work on spending reduction, which is taking the extras and lowering those so you actually have money left over to go invest. And module 10, here's my favorite thing I learned from module 10. I want you just to think of this for a second. How many hours a week, write this down or say it out loud to yourself. How many hours a week do you spend making money? And on average, it's 40, give or take for most people, right? How many hours a week do you have spending money? So going to Target, spending money on Amazon, going to the grocery store. How many hours a week do you spend money? So if you make it for 40, you spend it for 5, 10 hours a week, call that 50. Now here's what I realized by sitting in my room in a quiet space, you can come up with some really good ideas, which is the last one is, how many minutes or hours a week do you spend taking care of your money? And what I found myself, and when I've asked thousands of people that question, it's between 30 and 60 minutes a week, which is around 1% of your time you invest to take care of what you have. And that's why you don't have what you truly desire to have. That's a realization. So we have to increase that. After I get through the personal, then I get into the business side. I'm going to teach you how to think like a CFO. This module 12 gets into my wealth machine. This is the exact system that I use to process my money to make sure my taxes were paid, my investments were paid. I was able to give money away, and then I spent what was left over. We talk about cash flow management. I deal with expenses, taxes. Real estate agents, listen to me closely. 60% of you are behind on your taxes. I understand. 60% of you are behind on your taxes. You'll never get to wealth if you're behind on your taxes. And from that 60%, in my studies, 2/3 of your spouses don't know that you're behind on your taxes. You spend your whole life talking to real estate agents, you start to establish some, it's called the law of large numbers, where I start to know when I talk to 1,000 people, this is what normally happens. And I'm going to say, there's the problem, is that if we're behind on our taxes and we're not telling our spouse that we're behind, what do you think is going to happen to you mentally? And then how well do you think that's going to work for you in your business? You're always going to have this mental anchor pulling you back. Last part here is how we hold this thing all together. I talk about a money wheel. Module 17 is, when I need money, where do I go get it? I always am broke. I live like I'm broke. I have millions of dollars. I live like I'm broke. You know why? Because it's hard. Right, Kathy? We're back to hard. It's hard to live like we're broke. But because we're broke, because we live like that, we're not. Or let me ask you this. Do you live like you're not broke and you really are? Which one would you rather have? Tell you, life's pretty good where I'm at. Remember, I did what was hard, and life's now is pretty easy. After the money wheel, we go to the other side. We talk about insurance. I have you do an audit on all your insurance to make sure it's serving you in the right way. And then we get into the good stuff, assets and residual income. This is really where we start to build. I showed you some of my assets. And I showed you how I had a mindset early on of producing a residual income. But this entire program tops off with the last two modules, inheritance and giving. I'll say this, I believe wealth lives on after me. Selling real estate as long as I have, the worst thing that could happen is that I pass on from this earth and my kids hate each other, right? You know what happens? You sell real estate, you see when people die and then their families fight, like everyone's fighting over the money. Well, this is the only thing in this program I have not done, which is died. I say that seriously to you. Everything else in here I've done. The only thing that I train on that I have not done is died. And I teach you, how do I get to the end and how do I have everything set up so that way when I'm gone, my legacy, my wealth lives on after me. I do not want to give my kids a mess and my wife a mess when I'm gone. I do not want to do that. And so the very last module is kind of a sub thing of inheritance. It's about giving. And in this module, if I can get your mindset on how to live an abundance life compared to a scarcity mindset financially, your life will completely change. When you look at money as abundance, I can go make more, I can get more, I can give whatever I need away, okay? Because I believe the secret to living is giving. So there's our newest program there. We have, if anybody's interested in looking at it, you can scan that little QR code. The program launches on election day. I'm giving people hope that day. So November 5th, our newest program will launch. It's Wealth. I just took you through it so you know every piece of it. The only thing a little different that I decided to do was in this one, I set a goal, which was to help make 2025 the best financial year for you ever, which is a hell of a goal to try to achieve. But I said, how do I do that? Well, I put together this training. I also said, hey, I'm going to come in 3 times in which I will personally come in and coach on this because this is an online program. You can take it at your own pace. It's about 6 hours of content. And I said 3 times I'll come in and I'll personally come in and coach the group through the modules so they can really see, okay, now that I did it, I realize that I'm spending too much money. What do I need to do with this now? How do I get to the next layer? And so 3 different times between November 5th and December 21st, I will come in and host a private mastermind session for anybody. So if you have any interest, you can scan that. You can go to chevroncoaching.com and find information on it too. I hope that you translated my journey into some place of yours. Here was my system on how I ran one of the top teams in the country. Okay, here's the system. It's Monday through Thursday, 3 weeks a month. We operate on what's called a run rest cycle. We take 1 week off a month. We operate 3 weeks. Okay. Monday through Thursday for 3 weeks, we do our lead generation from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. 2 hours. From 8 to 8:30, we write 3 personal notes. They look something like this. They're blank. And they have whatever you want on the front, a picture, whatever. We write 3 personal notes from 8 to 8:30. It's like warming up the car. If you live in the northern states like me, the winter's coming, and when the winter comes, you have to warm up your car, because if not, it ain't going to run like it should. And so we write 3 notes in the morning, just a way of filling up our heads, our hearts of gratitude. There's no rejection. From 8:30 to 9, we make 3 follow-up calls to people who said they wanted to do business with us. Okay, now somebody might say, Austin, calling someone at 8:30 is a little too early. No, calling them at 8:30 at night is not professional. These people said they want to do business with you. They can take your call at 8:30 in the morning. Your doctor's office doesn't operate at 8:30 at night. Okay? 8:30 to 9, 3 follow-up calls of people who said they wanted to do business with you. And then from 9 to 10, 4 proactive calls to your database. There's the magic on how we did it. 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 3 weeks a month. It doesn't seem like it would equal a magic formula, but we kick butt by doing it. But there's something called Dunbar's number that says you can only have 150 meaningful relationships. So if your database is less than 75, you need to fight like hell to get it to 75. And then if it's over 150, what actually is going to happen is you can't have true meaningful relationships with more than 150 people. You just can't. You'll be stretched too thin. So my database at the top of my career was 325, and I realized that I couldn't touch those last 200 to 325. I could send them a piece of mail and an email, but someone else could have a better relationship and produce more fruit and serve them than me. Yeah. So I would tell you to max it at 200. If you got more than that, just realize that your resources will probably be spread too thin, and then your overall results will probably go down because you're watering too many seeds.